So today I've been finishing up getting the final bits of paintwork done on this lead screw gearbox faceplate. I've removed the masking from the original speeds and feeds chart, made sure to fill all these holes when I was painting it so that they were nice and clean for the engagement pin for each different speed. I just used expandable earplugs and cut little sections off them, dropped them in, let them expand, painted round them, and then pulled them out when the paint was still tacky, and that's worked a treat. I've then also done some detailing on the letters for the speed selection for the main feed to the gearbox. I've also got a new sight glass here, oil sight glass. Now I've got that positioned where I feel like it looks level with the plate, and I'm just about to use a small piece of nylon that's larger than this diameter just to drive the sight glass into place. And it's a press fit, so I shouldn't need any sealant on the inside, you know. So just a couple of light taps on this. Nicely home, and then I'll check it from the other side. That looks nice, looks like it's seated properly. So that's another piece of the puzzle in place and ready to be installed once I've got the lead screw and gearbox assembly put back together, which is my next plan of action today. Guys, so today I've been working on getting the first of the D.R.O linear scales fixed to the machine, and figuring out how I'm going to attach the mounting brackets as well as the scales themselves and the shield without interfering with any of the saddle or anything else, you know, trying to work out the best way I can get it to work. So this is what I've came up with. I'll pop in the little video of where I've cut down using a slitting saw, cut these angle brackets down so it was just a flat plate. These are provided with the scales themselves, and I've had a few left from some of my other restoration projects, so I've got a couple extras to play with. So on the top side here, I've milled off the angle and drilled 2 holes that marry up with the same spacing, so I could then use the 2 offcuts of the angle brackets as a spacer to keep the correct distance for clearance between the rear of the saddle and the scales themselves with the cover over. So I needed to have a good bit of clearance, you know. So I'm going to just go through popping this into place now, as I've got all the brackets kind of trimmed down and ready. So I'm happy that they're going to fit now, you know. So this is sort of where I'm up to now. Get the bracket lined up. Get the little bolt that I need. And this is all just loosely together for now, so I can adjust everything and get it all trued in. So, as well as the linear scales, I've also been looking at this drag link chain here, seeing how it's going to position, how I can get it fixed to the saddle. So far I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. It's going to be able to mount just around about there, right beside this scale bracket, and then the original coolant mount is going to need a little spacer made and some longer bolts, so I can fix the coolant pipe further out, and then probably put a 90-degree elbow on the bottom of it as well, just so the pipe work's not under strain, you know. Pretty happy with how it's going so far. Now I think what I'm actually going to do before I tighten these home is I'm going to try and get this fed back through there, just so it's all nice and neat. It's a bit fiddly, but once we get it in place, it should all line up nicely. Just try to get these bolts lined up. Pretty tight tolerances in the back there. I've had to trim down the back of this lower angle as well, so that it's not interfering with the rear of the lathe either. There we go, got that one started. Always like to start them by hand if I can, just so no cross threading happens anywhere. Started, then I'm going to run them up with the small Anki. Now try and get the bracket sitting nice and square. Now I have had to drill and tap the saddle here to be able to fix this D.R.O in place, but as you can see there's a variety of tap tools already. None of them was suitable, but I'm not worried by tapping any of this, as it's not going to interfere with anything on the machine. The bolts don't protrude through onto the inside here, so there's no way that they're going to damage the ways at all, you know. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, how's that going to sit with the trim? That's the question. With that cable run through there. Trim, cable can just be fed through on the bottom side there, I think. I'm trying to keep that up slightly. And the cable's got play there, bit of slack. That should work out nice. And I've chose to do it this way with the mounting brackets bringing the reader head to the bottom side to keep the manufactured U channel that's as watertight as it can be facing downwards, so the U is on the bottom, so that the reader scale is not getting exposed to coolant and swarf unnecessarily. Regardless of this trim, it's guaranteed there'll be some finds its way in there over time. So if the scale is on the bottom side, if you can achieve that, it's always the best way to go. So I'm pretty happy with this setup. It's nice and secure, nice and solid, and when I come to finally do it, I will run either some double-sided tape along the back here or some sealant, just to help keep the coolant and swarf from getting in behind the reader scale and being able to actually drip off the guard and into the chip tray, you know. That's the best way to do it. So pretty happy with how it's going so far. Just need to get this drag chain secured in place as well, and then we're getting there. We're on the right track. Cheers, guys. Hi there guys, so today I've been working on my Colchester Roundhead Master restoration. I've been getting the feed shaft and lead screw reinstalled after being cleaned up, as well as all of the gearbox assembly is now back together and working as it should. In the previous video you may have noticed I was having some bother getting this shaft to spin, as I'd actually tightened these two locking collars too tight, so be sure to leave a little bit of slop within that bushing. It needs to be snug. You don't want any end play really, but you want it to be able to move. And then snug up this collar on the inside here with the grub screw and the threads of the collar, just to keep the whole assembly from wobbling, you know. And then moving on, I've now got the main drive gear to go in. As you may have noticed in the first video, my original main drive gear, the 16 tooth side was completely stripped. So not today, yesterday, I was lucky enough to come across a Colchester student that is in pretty dire state, but lo and behold, the gear that I needed was still in there. Although instead of the circlip, the shaft that this gear was on had been welded, so I've had to file my way through the weld to get the washer off that was acting as a circlip, to then be able to remove the shaft and remove the gear. Now this machine is more than likely just going to be parts. If you see anything on it that you may want for your machine, drop me a message, as it may still have some bits kicking around by the time this video is uploaded. As you can see, the main headstock is absolutely filthy. It looks like someone has pumped it full of grease instead of oil. As you can see, the main headstock bearing oil feed points are absolutely gunged up, and the main spindle is very difficult to rotate, as well as one of the teeth within the headstock, one of the gears has lost quite a lot of teeth, as you can see. Engage that main spindle. So very gunky, very dirty in here, but there's still a few good bits on it that can be cleaned up. So I will get a full list of bits put together, and maybe a little video of what I've got on this machine later. But for now, I'm over the moon to have found the main drive gear, and this means I can get, as you can see here, that's my original one, teeth completely stripped. But this now means I can get the master restoration finished up and really start getting everything put back together fully, get the D.R.O fully installed. I've began the install, got the drag link chain fitted on the back here for all the cables and coolant, but I'm pretty happy with the progress so far. Just gonna get this quick change gearbox finished up this evening, all sealed up, and then I can get some fresh oil in there, and that's another step closer to being complete. So really happy. Cheers guys, hope you're enjoying the videos. Hi there guys, so I'm slowly getting closer to finishing up this restoration of my Colchester Master roundhead lathe. Today I'm going to be working on replacing the majority of the oil nipple points, as the original ones are of a flat surface, so when you try and inject the oil, you've got to push the ball bearing down and then try and squirt the oil in through there, and you always end up with a pool of oil around the fill point regardless of how careful you are. So I've went for these 6mm concave tip oil points, but as it stands 6mm is actually too small of a diameter for the holes that are already in the saddle and the rest of the machine parts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the hex off these little fittings to match the original diameter of the imperial oil points. So it's not too much to do, but obviously it's a very small part, very limited in fixing abilities, as the only place you can grab it is on these very fine M6 threads. So I'll be hopping over onto the Myford using the ER40 collet chuck to use the collets to clamp down onto the thread surface and not damage them. Not that I'll be using the threads, but that's the only place I can actually get a secure hold on the part to be able to turn it down. So I'm sure there are imperial oilers available, but I couldn't find them, and I have already ordered 2 packs now, so I'm going to use these ones if I can. So that's my little mission today. But I prefer these oilers because they retain a small amount of oil and don't leave as much of a mess when you use them. I've done one already and I feel like it looks considerably better than the flat surfaced oilers do from stock. So I'll just grab my phone and you can see the difference close up. And then here's one that I've actually already turned down and put into the thread dial indicator. I think it looks nice with the concaved face. Really happy. Just got to get a few of them turned out now. Cheers guys.